Welcome to Mic'd Up Toronto. My name is Lewis. Joining me today is Hipster Mitch.
Hey, yo.
And Immigrant Vince.
Hello, Toronto.
Guys, we have some big news for all our fans. They have another great way to listen to Mic'd Up Toronto. They can now check us out on YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Now, I should mention they cannot see our faces on YouTube. So maybe that's to come at some point in the future. Yeah. But do people really want to see our faces? I don't know. I feel like that's a punishment.
Well, let's just be honest with them. The reason we're not videotaping is because I dress like a bum, and I don't want people to see me in that condition, style.
The condition.
I don't know if I'd call it style.
Yes, I don't want people to see me.
Vince, the good thing about recording with no video is, you know, you can paint the picture however you want it to be. So, like, for all they know, you could be wearing a tuxedo right now.
6 foot, 170 pounds, rock solid muscle, 8-pack. What else?
This is what it would take to be on video?
This is what he wants people to believe he looks like right now.
Oh. I've got long brunette hair in a ponytail.
Oh, God.
A nice olive tan. Beautiful smile. I had braces as a child.
I'm pretty sure he's describing his perfect woman.
Perfect man. Perfect woman.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. And yeah, you can check us out on YouTube. Only our last few episodes are available, but going forward, we should have our new episodes up on there. So that's just another way for you guys to watch us, if you so choose. For now, we're going to discuss a topic that, to be honest, we're a little late to the party on this one. It's kind of old news, but I know a lot of our fans have been asking for our opinion on this subject. So, you know, we figured we might as well share our 2 cents, right? And of course, I'm talking about the whole Don Cherry situation. I'll give a quick recap, even though I'm sure all our listeners are
Someone
very
might
well
be
aware
living under a rock, Lou. Please
it's
do
possible.
summarize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a very quick summary. On the November 9th edition of Coach's Corner, Don Cherry was talking about the lack of poppies being worn for Remembrance Day. And so he was fired for his comments regarding newcomers to Canada when he said the following, and I quote, "You people that come here, whatever it is, you love our way of life, you love our milk and honey, at least you could pay a couple of bucks for a poppy." So that was pretty much what he was fired for. And then clearly there's been a lot of aftermath, a lot of heated debate on whether this warranted him getting fired. And it's time for the Mic'd Up crew to share their thoughts.
Starting with Lewis?
Let's start with Lou. Because I'm pretty sure he wanted us to
need a break from talking. That's the most I've talked in a while.
Okay.
Don't worry, everyone will hear my opinion.
Now?
No, I'm the cleanup hitter.
He wants to see who gets on
scared.
base
Yeah,
first.
he's scared. He's going to go with the majority.
Yeah.
So, you want to go first, or?
Sure. So when it comes to Don Cherry, I don't care too much about hockey, but when it's Saturday night and people want to hang out, typically a bunch of, white boys from Sudbury want to watch hockey.
Not just Sudbury. There's people from Toronto
Hold on. Am I about to get kicked off Mic'd Up Toronto?
No, you might be, depending on the reaction.
Listen, we've said things. What reaction?
Why? I just said something racist.
Yeah, but you wait.
Oh, I see where you're going
halfway,
with this.
so whatever.
Oh, so if it's part of something I identify with, it's fine.
Yeah.
Are those the ground rules we're going with here? I would like to know.
Yeah, for 80% of the time, yes.
So you're telling me that basically, for Mic'd Up Toronto, we should have a female, we should have a black person, an Asian person, a brown person, then we round out and then we're good.
Yeah, but as long as, like the black person can joke about black people, the brown about brown, the white about white, you can't be, like mixing it up. You can't be diversifying.
Can't cross the racial barriers.
No.
Do you believe this? This is what Vince...
Is this a rule, or did Vince just make this up?
I don't know if it's a rule.
This is a universally accepted rule by the United Nations Geneva Convention.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. But what it is, it's like definitely a general rule that's allowed. Like, you can make fun of white people all you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I just did.
Yeah.
No one cares. No one even thinks about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you nondescriptly say something about people who are not from here, then you're fired.
Apparently.
And he didn't even target a specific race, culture,
No.
No.
All
religion.
immigrants.
All new immigrants.
All immigrants.
Yeah.
That could be Italian immigrants.
Technically,
it could
he
be
didn't
French
say
immigrants.
new people. He could have meant anyone, really, but...
Yeah, that's the part that annoys me the most is that he's getting in trouble for what people are perceiving. Like, they're like, oh, you meant this, but he didn't. He didn't say that.
I think just a few things to point out. I think like Don Cherry is almost like an institution. Like he's like you think Canadian hockey, you think like Don Cherry. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I remember when I used to watch the Leafs, even just back in the like Matt Sundin, Curtis Joseph era, and like he was always on commentating, right?
Of course, he's been doing this forever.
Yeah.
Look at Vince
Now-
dropping hockey players.
I know the few players I do know. And now normally when this like news story broke, I'm like, man, like people like you gotta get a reality check. Like this means nothing. And I will say this, like for him to get fired over this is unacceptable. It is over these particular comments. However, oddly enough, I guess this must have been like trending because I was on YouTube, right?
Oddly enough, this must have been trending.
Like I went on YouTube, right? And I'm like, let me see what exactly in the tone he said it, how he said it, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, it's okay for him to call people out. I mean, like, yo, like you should be support. Like you love our country so much. This is why you came. Or how about you show some support for the people that gave their life for you to enjoy this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with all that message. I think the way he said it, though, directly correlates with his views. There is a YouTube video. There's an interview by Don Cherry back in 1991. And if you watch that, followed by what he said in 2019, then I think you'll get why perhaps Rogers took the step of firing him. Because that 1991 CBC News interview, it's like a 30-minute special, right? And basically he's asking him like, oh, like, you've made it, like, how do you feel? And then he's basically saying, he's like, yeah, I'm glad I made it. He's like, I just have high school education. Like, I fought my way up. Like, I work hard. I'm not like these immigrants who just come here and steal our jobs and there's nothing left for us. And then the interviewer point blankly asked him, so he's like, are you saying like people who are unemployed or like people that can't get a job, they should directly blame immigrants? And he's like, yeah, they're coming over here stealing a job. He's anti-immigration.
So he should be fired for his stance on immigration?
No. There's more. There's like,
Okay,
I don't
but
want to.
Are you saying he should be fired in 2019 because of his comments now?
No, I'm just
Or are you saying that whatever someone says at any point in their life should be held over their head forever?
No.
Then
Again,
what's your reference to 1991?
Even after listening to 1991, I still wouldn't fire him exactly for that reason. But what I'm saying is, Rogers, I see why they made that decision. I think at that point they needed to make a call, either stick with this and potentially lose a lot of credibility, or fire him, and the worst case is upset some white people who
are going to watch hockey anyway.
Yes. So there's nothing to lose. So even after that 91 interview, like, I wouldn't necessarily label him a bigot or like a racist. And I don't think he should have been fired. But again, I see why Rogers made that decision.
So the fact that you're pointing back to a 91 quote is, I think that's quite laughable. And I know you're saying it's not the reason he got fired, but like just the fact that we're going back to 1991. I mean, wow. We talk about like Twitter comments from like 5 years ago, and now we're going back to 91.
No, it's perfect. The reference back is perfect. He's the same now as he was then.
Yeah.
And there's numerous occasions where he's been sexist, racist, intolerant of anyone who's not like assimilating to what he believes is correct.
Yeah.
And that's what bothers me. Not that he has these opinions, is that they've let him go on for how many fucking years saying all this stuff just to save it all for whenever they wanted to get rid of him. As soon as I heard the comments, I remember I was at a friend's house. We were watching Coach's Corner. I heard the comments. I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity for them to get rid of him. If they're like,
seriously?
If they're looking for an opportunity to get rid of him,
I don't think they were. It's
a perfect chance.
I agree.
He's like 80 something.
85, yeah.
Everybody I know watches Coach's Corner because it's like, what is this idiot going to say now? Mm-hmm. It's not because he provides insight. You can see Ron McClain biting his lip. Like,
actually, I disagree with that.
Like, he's like, why do I have to work with this idiot?
No, Ron McClain, he gave the thumbs up. Everything Don Cherry was saying, Ron McClain was nodding in approval, in agreement, and he, at the end of his rant, Ron McClain gave the 2 thumbs up, and he's like, I don't know if he said well said, maybe not, but he acknowledged. He's like, yeah, he agreed.
Yeah, that's what he does every show.
Yeah, I don't know.
And watch 12 episodes of Coach's Corner, and you'll see Ron McClain the exact same. All he does, he's there just to keep Don Cherry back on topic. That's it.
I don't want to go on too much of a rant about Ron McClain, but since we're talking about him, I think he is an absolute coward because he turned his back on his friend. Do you know Ron McClain was going to be fired on 2 separate occasions by Rogers and CBC? There was 2 separate instances. And both times Don Cherry said, no, you get rid of him, then I'm gone too. Don Cherry stood up for his friend. He was willing to put his job on the line. And what does Ron McClain do when the roles are reversed? He leaves him hanging. He's like, nah, screw that. I want my job. Okay. To me, that's a shitty friend. So, but anyways, that's not what this is about. I just wanted to...
Let's go back to the real issue. First of all, do you agree with what he said, yes or no?
Irrelevant.
Yeah, that's a...
No, it's not. It's a huge point. Do you agree with what he said?
Yes. Okay. In terms of, less people wearing poppies? Well, what are your thoughts? From the observations that I've made, less people are wearing poppies.
Okay, we'll make it a 2-part question. The overall message, I think we all agree with. He's right. No one's wearing poppies, including, obviously new immigrants. But do you agree with how he said the message?
No, of course not.
I don't agree how he says majority of his messages. They're a joke. Okay. But I also think... he's definitely allowed to have his opinion about poppies, but poppies to me, they're not reinforced. Nothing about them people don't understand that poppies aren't just for World War II. There's not enough information about them thrown in people's face to understand that this is to forever support troops that support your country.
Yep.
It's not just a World War II thing. People are like, what are we going to do when World War II veterans died? I get it. That's a massive thing. But there's people fighting for your freedom. If you support this every fucking day. So figure it out.
Yeah. See, and that's what I think should be the proper message. I think a lot of people, Don Cherry probably meant well in terms of you people come here, show some support. You know what I mean? And I've talked
as soon as you say you people, you're toast.
Well, that's the part that got him fired. The you people. And the thing is, there's a whole, I saw a YouTube clip, a whole montage of clips of Don Cherry saying you people. But it was always referring to different people. And sometimes it was referring to Europeans.
The audience. He does it all the time.
It's just you know how we all have our certain key words that we always say all the time. Yeah. That's one of them for him, and it's a bad one to have because it gets you in a lot of trouble. But you people for him has meant French Canadians. It's meant Russians. It's meant it's just meant all kinds of things.
I know, but this time he just meant that all immigrants.
Yeah, he meant all immigrants.
But he said it in every context.
Because normally when you hear you people, it's derogatory. It's condescending. It's a bad word, a bad term. But for him, it's taken out of context because I don't think he meant it with that kind of intent.
I'm gonna play you that 91 interview so you can.
Back to 91.
Yeah, I know. You will. I mean, you see what I mean. See, here's the point. I think maybe what we should all learn from this, and maybe all news outlets is. I mean, he's not coming back. Let's face it. He's 86. He might get hired somewhere else, but...
Well, he started a podcast.
Okay.
So, look. As a result of all this, we got more competition.
Yeah. But I think the overall message, I think maybe what people should learn, and you know what? I read a very interesting news article in the Toronto Star where, the guy that was writing about Don Cherry, and I guess he works with someone who's relatively new to Canada, And then he was like, what are poppies like? Like, what do they even represent? And then after the guy explained to him, he was like, oh shit, I should wear one. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So I think maybe what people should use this as an awareness factor.
And that was kind of his point all along. Yeah. To create awareness, because a lot of new immigrants, it's not that they're not wearing poppies, or they just don't, they might not know our history. They might not know the significance of the poppy. There's so many factors. Yep. And so that was kind of the whole purpose of what he was saying. And again, the words he used, very poorly chosen, but I think he meant well. And even if you don't agree with what he said, someone should not be fired because you don't agree with someone's opinion. Like, to me, that's a very slippery slope, a dangerous slope that we should not be approaching, because, like, where do we draw the line then, right?
Okay, can I give you an example then?
Okay.
So I no one should be fired for giving their opinion, correct? You just said that, right? Okay.
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
Now, so, unless you give me some kind of crazy
I'm not going to give you a crazy example. I'll give you the example of, is it him and her? The ESPN, what was her name? Something Hill?
Yeah, Jamil
Hill. So the fact that she's on ESPN, what is a sports platform, but she wanted to raise issues about social awareness and talking about, like, you know, not standing for the anthem, and then the president of the United States picks on her and she eventually gets fired. So what do you say in that example?
No one shouldn't be fired. I mean, I don't know the details, but no, it shouldn't be fired.
I'll give you a gist of it. She shouldn't be. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Well, you should not be fired for, unless you're saying something like a threat, like telling someone to kill someone.
I get it, yeah. Well, this is where I'm going to disagree with you politely. I think, so your job, right? Like, our job as podcast hosts is, you know, obviously to talk about, you know, debate issues, talk about news, whatever, right? Interview people. Now, like, what if I come on this podcast and, I don't know, instead of, like, talking, I'm out here just eating, picking my nose, I don't know, like, fixing a computer.
Oh, you're talking about not doing your job?
Yes. Like,
right.
Your job as an online personality, like, gives you a broad spectrum of what you could and can say, right? I just think, and I'm not talking about necessarily Don Cherry, I just argue with Lewis's point. Can you say anything you want just because it's your opinion? No, that's not what they pay you. They pay you for you to
actually, for him, they do.
Smirky remarks, right? Like, basically, it's like Stephen A. Smith. Say something outlandish.
Yeah, exactly. Foolish. Kind of like a Stephen A. Smith personality.
Yeah, but Stephen A. Smith never talks about politics, bro. Stephen A. Smith is just...
No, but actually, for Don Cherry, he's been doing this since... He's been on air for what, 40 years?
One of the things. Like, Don Cherry has set the precedent for himself, and if just assume every episode was a case in court. Every episode of Coach's Corner was a case in court.
Awesome.
He would have unlimited precedents of him saying things that should have been fired, but he never did. And if the final episode was the reason for firing, all the precedents before should have led to him not being fired.
I know, but there's a problem, Mitch. We don't, like 20 years, even 10 years ago, there weren't a platform for people to fucking hide behind a screen and bitch.
Don Cherry's been doing it for 20 years. What are you talking about?
Okay, what I'm saying is...
Okay, so you're saying he's been like this for a while, so they should have seen it coming.
No,
and then now you're saying he shouldn't have used the platform for that?
No. What I'm saying is people, like audiences.
Yeah.
Like, let's face it. If we lived, like, without Instagram, Twitter, and all this online shit, no one's actually writing a letter to Rogers to complain, be like, this guy, you know, I feel like he disrespected me. I'm an immigrant. I felt that was, like, bigotry, racist. No one's actually writing that letter, but because we live in the age of Twitter and Instagram, it takes literally 30 seconds of effort to hit up a hashtag at Rogers Cherry racist. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot easier for you to pretend you care. Mm-hmm. And actually, I refer to Barack Obama, who actually pointed this out. He says the new thing is for people to pretend they care about everything. You know what I mean? Which, like, to an extreme point of view, like, he's basically saying, he's like, oh, like, people care about the earth, people care about the economy, people care about this. But really, they don't care about all this shit. Right. They only do it because there's this tool online to give them the opportunity to
give them a platform.
Yes. And I think that's the problem. I think that's why he got fired. I told you. This is why he never got fired. Dude, I saw it during that interview as well that I'm referring. He literally, like, they're asking him at some kind of benefit about, like, women reporters being into, like, being allowed into, like...
Yes. This one was, like, one I was going to reference. 2013. And he's like, women have no place in a dressing room. He's like, no place in a men's dressing room.
Except...
it sounds sexist, but he had a good reason.
Yeah. No, she, and then she was like... He's like, oh, we should go outside because a female was in there, like, bunch of naked dudes. And she's like, oh, I'm not embarrassed. And he's like, I am. We should go outside. And then Rob McLean said something about, like, equal opportunity. He's like, name me a bunch of guys that go into a women's dressing room. Never happens. True. And then they probably went to commercial. He makes some valid points, but
he does, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get any of this twisted. Don Cherry should have been fired decades ago. But I think... when you're in the entertainment eye, you can get fired for anything. All these massive companies that own all these contracts, they can fire you for any reason they want at any time they want. They got reels of shit. They could fire everybody who's hired for.
Well, plus they don't need a reason.
It's just choosing why to fire people and when.
Again,
and eventually it was his time.
He was paid to be provocative. He's not supposed to be that boring, like bland, gives those honest, safe answers. That's not what they hired him for. Of course. They wanted him to push the limits, and for 40 years, that's what they've been getting.
But could you correlate, like, if we were to look at Coach's Corner ratings, have they progressively declined to the point where it's like, let's just get rid of them? And this was a great opportunity. Oh, I guarantee you could see a correlation. They're like, yep, now's the time.
Well, I mean, that theory does make sense because they have been firing some of their longer tenured personalities, like Bob McGowan. Nick Kiprios was gone. Like, he's been there a while, so like that does make sense if they were just looking for a reason.
Sometimes you just need a shakeup, and this is a good. This to me, I think, is a good thing for, like, Rogers.
I don't know. No, they're getting a lot of backlash. But, like, the majority of Canadians, like, I've seen a lot of polls on this topic, and most people are not in favor of him being fired. So, like, the majority of Canadians are not happy with this move. Now, how many of them are actually going to boycott Hockey Night in Canada?
Yeah, okay.
That's not happening.
Yeah, we're going to boycott the one TV show that we religiously watch. Yeah, okay, you idiots.
You know, do you guys think maybe part of the reason that they did this is because, you know, if you look at basketball, if you look at soccer, like Raptors and TFC, you see their fan base consistently growing. I mean, mind you, they're starting from, like, scratch. But their fan base is very, very diverse.
Right.
And I feel like the Leafs and hockey's, like, fan base happens to be predominantly white.
I'm calling you out on that. That's not true. Okay. You know how many different languages they broadcast Leafs games in?
How many?
All kinds. I've seen it on, well, I can't tell you the number.
I mean,
but I know there's, like,
all kinds.
You phrased it like it was, like, in over 20 languages. I'm like, shit, Luke gonna put me in my place.
There's plenty of languages, and if you're trying to insinuate that it's only white people that like hockey, man, you're sorely mistaken.
I don't think it's all white people.
Not even close.
I'm thinking
it's much more diversified as you think. Not that it matters. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but, like, it's much more diverse than you think.
Okay. I'm not gonna argue that.
I'll look up the languages for you afterwards.
Please, and I'll let you watch the CBC interview because you have to.
I don't care about what was said.
No, you have to watch it.
And just so you know about Don Cherry, like, I feel like you're trying to paint the picture that he's, like, hating on people that aren't white. The things he said against French Canadians and against Europeans, Russians and Europeans in general, like, he's said some really nasty things about them, but that hasn't received anywhere near the same backlash.
I think Don Cherry is a typical 86-year-old white guy who stuck with the train of thought of what it used to be like back in the 50s and 60s. And no offense, it ain't the 50s and 60s, homie. Things have changed. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not saying he's any less or more racist than any typical 86-year-old white man.
There you go. I'm the white man.
Like, yeah, the white man. Because I'm a white man. I can say white man. I'm telling you because I know other 86-year-old white people who think and talk like him.
I just don't we throw out the word racist too often, too loosely.
I'm not saying he's racist.
Wait, is he racist?
No. He's not.
I don't think he is. I agree. When you say you people, it sounds really bad, but I think he's not the most eloquent person. So, like, the words that come out of his mouth, a lot of the times are like,
I would say he's probably a racist person.
No. You can classify by today's standards that he's racist.
Yes.
If you take the 50s and 60s, the era you grew up, this is laughable. That's what I'm telling you.
So right now.
Yeah. He doesn't know this is not acceptable. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay. So he doesn't understand it's unacceptable.
No, he doesn't.
Let's talk about
he doesn't.
Like an industry where certain things have been acceptable previously. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say Vince wanted to become an actor. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. And he was trying to make it in like the 70s. Right? Mm-hmm. The only way for him to get ahead was to fucking, schmooze his way through. Maybe sleep with a couple people.
Yeah.
There's endless jokes. There's endless movies. There's endless proof.
Yeah.
That this was acceptable at that time. And yet we persecute people because they took advantage of what was a normality. Right? So to say Don Cherry is still now the way he was back then, and that's okay, means that we should be okay with everything that was okay when it was okay now.
Oh, no, of course not. I mean, if by that argument, then it's like, well, slavery was okay at one point.
Exactly.
So, no, obviously not.
No,
but then how can we choose to condemn certain people, like, for things that were okay? And I'm not saying, like, everything was okay. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying it was more normalized at a certain time, such as being racist, even though it was not okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't want to condemn Don Cherry for every time he's been racist, but we'll condemn other people for normalized activity from when they
But again, it depends. When we say racist, talk about Don Cherry. Which example specifically are you referring to?
So we can refer to the one now. And like when you continually talk about like French Canadians, Europeans, Russians, it's still different people, man. Yeah. Just because they're not black or brown doesn't mean they're not different.
Yeah.
He criticizes the shit out of Russians.
Yeah, but for different reasons.
So what, Louis?
No, okay, fine.
So
when we're talking about
a bunch,
I know.
If you're like, oh, you're Russian and I don't like you.
No,
you're racist,
now we're taking
bro.
things out of context. He was criticizing Russians for wearing visors, and that was just not criticizing. He was making an observation. That was during the whole debate about when visors weren't mandatory.
But he's like Russian. He said Russians are cheaters.
Well, that was referring to the drug scandal, right?
Yeah, but I've heard many people.
Not all Russians are cheaters.
No, of course
Black people steal.
Yeah, I get your point.
Brown people smell.
A lot of people have made mention of like, oh yeah, the Russian scandals are all dopers. Like, okay, fine, I guess.
So you're only going to pick and choose.
No,
you're only going to hold them accountable for things you don't agree with.
I want to be very careful about labeling people certain things, because if we really want to like overanalyze, we can call a whole lot of people homophobes. We can call a lot of people bigots.
Are homophobes.
Yes, okay. Well, a lot of people might call you a homophobe, Vince. Like when you if you're yeah, so that's a problem because you're not a homophobe.
That's true.
But a lot of people.
But I'm comfortable in the knowledge of knowing who I am. So
I know, but that's what I don't like is when someone can call you or me a homophobe when we're not. I don't like labeling people. We're too quick to use these terms when they should be reserved for actual racists and actual homophobes.
I know, but again, this is the world we live in, man. I told you 10 years ago, yes, there would have been some eyebrows raised, but I'm telling you, not a fireable offense. Now, Mitch, you made a great point, man. Like, when do you eventually cut the line and be like, listen, man, like, this isn't 60 years ago. What you're saying is racist back then, it's racist now.
Right.
Not in specific to Don Cherry, Lou. I'm just saying in general, right? And the thing I would say to that is, I think we're very lucky to be brought up to a different era. Like you had a lot of friends from like different ethnicities, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to defend Don Cherry, but the only thing I could assume is like, and again, like I know like old white folk, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of them like me knowing like that I'm an immigrant and all that, like I've gotten some remarks where I don't think they even realize what they're saying is kind of on the line of being bigotry.
They don't even care.
Or maybe they don't care. I think I try to give them like the benefit of the doubt and say they don't realize. But maybe they do. Maybe
I
they
have heard
secretly-
like specific stories from other races making fun of other races. And these are like 80, 90-year-old people.
Yeah.
They would just make fun of other races. Like, and I'm specifically talking about like, this is a Japanese immigrant making fun of a Chinese immigrant.
Dave Chappelle
Like, and these are legitimate and they're just racist. Because at the time, no one gives a shit. No one cared.
Yeah.
It was normal.
And their train of thought hasn't changed, man. See what I mean?
It's crazy. It's crazy that like we draw lines at certain things, such as like let's say this, right? And, like the Don Cherry thing, but we like if someone else says it who's 60 and they're trying to start a career, they're the worst.
Yeah.
And just one more example. How about Trudeau and blackface? Like,
I agree.
think about if Don Cherry was in blackface. Okay, he'd be a dead man.
I know.
But
that's why the masked people are the judge, jury, and executioner. And in that case, they judged that he wasn't racist.
Okay,
listen,
but why?
Listen,
because of maybe where he stands on the political spectrum. So if
you know
that's
what,
what it comes down to,
right.
then that's problematic too.
It is problematic.
If certain
I agree with you. I mean,
political
listen,
beliefs get the benefit of the doubt.
There's no debate like what he did was very stupid and inappropriate, right? But then when you have like when your whole platform is like immigrants, you can't be like, come on in, but like secretly be racist. I think that's part of the thing. And then
when you wear blackface so many times, you can't remember how many times.
Hold on,
I don't. Your actions speak louder than your words.
Does that make you racist if you go blackface?
If you do it that many times, I think I don't know. See, I don't like calling people racist, and I'm not saying I know a lot of people
are
not
racist, man. Come on, Justin is not racist. You know how I know he's not racist?
It means something. I don't know what it means.
I think it means he likes black people because.
Oh, come on,
Lou, you don't have. It's funny that you would mention this, but like, I was reading a story in a National Post of like how the liberals how a lot of people were even worried about like how the polls were like 4 days prior to the election. And then they're saying that like the Barack Obama like tweet where it's like my friend, and this is after the blackface incident, by the way, where like Barack Obama on his Twitter feed is like, my friend Justin Trudeau is about to go to election. He's a good man. And I hope, this like our friends to the north think the same way.
Yeah.
They literally thought like, that got liked by like 170,000 people and it got retweeted by like 75. And they're saying like that tweet that day, they're not saying it's necessarily the tweet, but they think it had a huge impact of like 5 percentage points.
Wow.
Yeah. So it just goes to show you, man. That's
crazy.
Just like side crazy, topic on the side. But yeah, like basically when you have somebody from that minority back you, it's different, man. If an immigrant that knows Don Cherry very well and is like very close with him, if he had come out and be like, listen, like Cherry's my boy, he ain't racist, we homies.
There's plenty of new immigrants that have backed him. They're like, yeah, Don Cherry's right.
Hold on. He's right, but who's backed him and be like, I know this guy personally, vouch for him. One thing, I think he's right as well for calling people saying, hey, we're a fucking poppy, but I didn't back him online and be like, yo, listen, I'm an immigrant. Different, bro.
Well, we do want to know what our listeners think on this topic. I know some of them are going to be like, why are you guys still talking about this?
And
you guys are like a month late to the party.
If you're from Sudbury and you're white, we appreciate you.
And you know I called you. And I can't guarantee we'll all be back for next episode. Some of us may be fired. We'll see. Hopefully, you'll see the full mic'd up crew next week.
Hopefully these guys are fired, is what Louis is saying.
But if not, we'll see you later.